her life, which is problematic for Buffy, because it's not so easy for her. So I don't know if you'll consider her to be strong or not. It's not an agenda in the way that it was like with Cordelia, where we wanted to do the same thing we did with Wesley, take somebody that you thought of as bumbling or superficial and build them up into somebody extraordinary. Dawn is, for me, a touchstone of the non-extraordinary. That's why she and Xander are together, because they feel more like me. Dull. And whiny.
Hi. First, I just want to say that you're my hero, and I hope that I can be like you when I grow up. And I'm just wondering, you've gotten to explore these universes and tell stories in different mediums. What's the difference, like, in crafting these stories in comics versus television?
The difference is not great. It's just really about rhythm. It's about how much you can give, because the comics come out, obviously, just once a month. And, you know, if you're telling a story over more than one issue, then it breaks down into acts. But having 4 months to complete one act instead of 1 hour is very different. And that's pretty much it. In terms of how they're structured, in terms of how much you need to put in a script, in terms of being sure of your collaborators and knowing they're going to give you, the footage, because your artist is your co-director, he's also your costumer, which thank God for Georges Janty, because he is one of the best costumers in comics. Something I didn't get nearly enough credit for. Yes, we all know he's a wonderful dancer, but he is, he also brings an enormous amount of life to it. You're always going to have that sort of give and take in the relationship, and you're always going to be trying to structure around emotion and around your act breaks, which could be page breaks, they could be commercial breaks, they could be the end of an issue. You're always going to look for that little pop to keep people going. But you do have to sort of parcel things out differently. Apart from that, it really is very similar. Oh, also, your actors don't ever change their lines. But if you don't proofread the comics occasionally, they do. So, you gotta proofread, because I'm a terrible typist.
Are you going to make a Dr. Horrible comic book?
We have made some, we will make more. The beating heart of the Dr. Horrible comic book universe is scribe Zach Whedon, who has been just all of them and done such a great job. And it's delightful because he just does it, and then I just get to read it. I mean, I'm in charge, and it's totally my vision. Super important, and I should have my own panel. But Zach has really carried that banner, and it's been such a delight for all of us.
Hello. With the Avengers, you're working with characters who are already iconic characters, and you're working with actors who have already been set up by 3 other directors. How much more challenging is that versus your own work that you've already created?
It's not that different. You come to it, you come to a relationship with an actor that you build, on the set and in pre-production. You take what parameters you have. In something like the Avengers, there's an enormous number of parameters. There are visual styles that have been worked out by different directors. There are the people who play the characters and the people who haven't. There's, all the reconciling of what's going on in the comic books and the movies, and what can you take from and what can you use and what do you need to avoid and how do you make them all work together. There are so many concerns, but at the end of the day, as soon as there's been an episode of a TV show, you're already in that world of, well, how do I resolve with what I already have? As soon as there are always going to be parameters based on who is my audience, what can I get away with, how long do I have to tell this story? There's going to be, how many fights, musical numbers, bloody killings, whatever kind of thing it is you're making. You have these things stuck in when you're making genre that you must adhere to and you must respect. With the Avengers, it hasn't actually been as hard as I thought it would be. what I find is that these characters mesh through their differences really well. And what I also find is that these actors are having a great time playing against each other, and they are, as a troupe, actually a much better team than the Avengers are.
Hi, Joss. At one point I read that you were pursuing a mini-series called Ripper, and I was wondering if we'd be able to read more about Giles' origin story in the comics.
I have said this to some people that they are going to get a whiff of Ripper in the Angel and Faith book. This is the case. They are living at Giles' house, and they're going to be immersed in his world a little bit. I would still and always want to do an actual Ripper series or movie. I have broached it and been close to it so many times that I think if I ever mention it to Anthony Stewart Head again, he will put a knife in my throat. He is a lovely, gentle man. I think he will take up a big knife and deservedly kill me. So, unless we're actually rolling, when we actually have the cameras rolling, I will call him, say, come from your house, we're rolling. It's Ripper. No, really. Until then, I gotta play it cool, because he's at this con, and he could have a knife. I don't know.
Hi, Joss. I was just wondering, since good writers are always changing and evolving, if there's anything you've written for publication that you thought was awesome, and then looked back on years later and wondered, did I really write that?
You know, everything I've written is awesome. In a way, it's a burden. It's actually, I recently pulled out a script, a film that I'd written about 20 years ago, one of the first of many to not sell, and it was fun. It was interesting. I liked it a lot, but I was like, this guy's young. I thought, he showed promise. A for effort. I don't think there's, and anything I've done that I'm really like, oh my God, and yes, I am including the Frankenstein episode in season 2 of Buffy. Because there was always a good intent, and at least something in there that made me smile and that was worthy. I've definitely, I have recently actually also read some letters I wrote to my mother from boarding school. Those are a little florid. A little self-indulgent. Definitely 16.
Hi. I wanted to ask you if you intentionally tried to put a lot of the character of Kitty Pryde in Kaylee, or did that just kind of happen after loving the character of Kitty Pryde so much?
Put the character of Kitty Pryde in whom?
Kaylee from Firefly?
I never even saw the connection. But then I often don't. I'm often unaware of my, let us call it, theft. But now that you say it, yeah, okay. So, another original idea from Castle. Could you have asked me that when we were alone? No, it was not deliberate, but I do see the connection now. Thanks. Look, my pony did its trick again. My pony.
Hey, Joss. First, you're awesome. Second, I know you've done a lot of strong female characters, some who are lesbian, especially in the Buffyverse. Would you consider doing a strong gay male character that's, out and proud or just, visible?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I've actually wanted to do a book. I had a particular one in mind It is not on the front burner, but I do think it's about time. I think at some point, you write enough lesbians, people realize, this is just a guy. This isn't feminism, this is Syntax. It's time for a little equal opportunity. Besides, who doesn't love cock? And then I remembered the children.
This is actually kind of similar. I was at the Jo Chan panel, and she was talking about a story that she pitched to you about Angel and Spike kind of hooking up a bit, and I was wondering what your initial thoughts about it were.
I got to do what was supposed to be a 2-page story, but that's like the 6-word story. I can't do that. So we expanded to, I think, 3. And with Jo, and I had never done, she'd done the covers, and she's a miracle worker, and I adore her. But that was the first time I got to do narrative with her, but because it was a short piece, and this is something I'll do with artists and with actors, if it's a world where I'm already very comfortable and sort of know my way around, I asked her, what do you want? And she said, I'd like to have Caleb in it and some yaoi. I'm like, okay, Caleb and yaoi, coming up. And I loved that book, that little 3 pages of naughtiness. It was a delight.
Hi Joss, I'm a big fan of the Dollhouse series, particularly the characters. I was wondering if we're going to see any more Dollhouse comics coming.
Yes, we are. They've got some on deck already, and we'll see by their reception whether we can we keep going with that. Again, it's a question of time and manpower, because we all, I have very strong feelings about that verse. It's been hard for me because there were so many things about the show that felt a little compromised, and then I sort of went, well, I guess we didn't hit the mark because there were things that I wanted to talk about that Fox wasn't comfortable with. And then, so it's taken me a while to realize, first of all, that it has fans, and that I am one of them. That it meant a great deal to me, and I don't know that I always articulated it as successfully as I had in other shows, but when we did, it was as powerful as anything we've done. The scene between Amy Acker and Fran Kranz in the first episode of season 2 is about as happy as I ever need to be. Deafening silence. Or, are we actually supposed to be done? Is that what's going on? Yes, they're telling me to wrap it up. So, just one more song, and then I am going to give you a gift that I don't give many people. I am going to not sing. Oh yeah, I knew Dance of Joy was coming. I have great joy. I will express it by saying thank you. Thank you guys so much.